Shalom. I hope everybody's been having a gracious week so far. I wanted to go ahead and put this message out to put some food for thought into those who are willing to listen. See, we have a huge problem, and it has to do with deception. And there are a lot of people that are deceived right now. And by that, if you call yourself a Christian, if you say that you believe in our Messiah Yeshua, that you love him, that you're obedient to Yahweh the Father, well, then I have a question. Was it not Yeshua's own words when he said, "Many are called and few are chosen"? How many people survived the Great Flood? 8. How many people survived the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah? 3. Who survived the destruction of Jericho? Rahab and her family. See, the point that I'm trying to make here, if you call yourself a Christian just like the other 3.5+ billion people on the face of this planet, and you think that you're saved, again, many are called, few are chosen. 3.5 billion people is not a few. 3.5 billion people that say they are of the faith are actually walking the broad path that leads to destruction. Very few are actually walking the narrow path, the narrow way. And that way is difficult. You get people who go to their worship services, their Bible study groups, but that's not going to save you. It is truly having faith and believing, to having that personal relationship with Yeshua. How many people can claim right now that they have that kind of a relationship, that have that true faith, that truly believe? Or do you just say it? Say it to yourself, say it to other people. You go through the motions, but you're not there. I'm going to read this part out of 1 Corinthians in chapter 2. It's verses 14 and 15. But but the natural man does not receive the things of the Ruach of Elohim, for they are foolish to him, nor can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. But he who is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is rightly judged by no one. And what this is talking about, the natural man. Everyone who has been born of the flesh is the natural man. And that is exactly why you don't receive the things of the Father. Because you're not born again. The natural man is of the flesh. But he who has been born again has the ability for spiritual discernment. Some people ask, what is discernment? Spiritual discernment is having the ability to hear the Ruach. That you can hear our Father speaking to us. But if you don't have the discernment, you're not going to hear a thing. People will say, well, yes, I can. Okay, is that the Spirit talking to you, or is that your own thoughts? See, spiritual discernment also helps you to distinguish the good from the bad, to make decisions that go far beyond normal human intellect. That you're making the decisions that the Father is telling you to make, because you can hear Him through the Spirit. You have a lot of people out there that say they hear the Father. The Father talks to them. Some people say that the Father talks to them every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And anyone who is going to believe and fall into that trap, you don't have discernment. And the reason, I'm going to switch over into 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 through 15. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Mashiach. And no wonder, for Satan himself transforms himself into a messenger of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also transform themselves into ministers of righteousness, whose end will be according to their works. See, Yeshua said in the book of Matthew that the closer we get to the end times, there will be many false prophets and false Christs. And me personally, I have seen a lot of both. People saying, I am the chosen one. People being essentially looked at as if they are the Messiah. People claiming to be prophets. People out there saying that Trump was going to get shot in the air, blew out his eardrum. Oh, where did the eardrum get blown out go? Where did that happen? You get people out here, the worst ones. When you start having people that, especially those who start saying that they were told so-and-so was going to win a political election, or so-and-so, this is, what this country is going to do to that country, beware of that. Because you're having a lot of that happening now. And people are they're so blind. They have no discernment. People are being led astray left and right. But you know what doesn't take discernment is to read and understand this. I'm going to go into the book of Galatians. And especially if you don't have discernment, if you don't have the Spirit, you're not born again, and you do not hear His voice, you're not one of His sheep. Ergo, when that time comes, you'll end up being told, "Depart from me, I never knew you. You who practice lawlessness." You may think that you know him, but you don't. Because you're not obedient, you're living in disobedience. In Galatians chapter 5, I'm going to read to you verses 19 through 23. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I told you in times past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. Before I continue on, I'm going to go into a couple of other areas. This is out of 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of Elohim. I'm going to go into the book of Ephesians. Oops. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 5. For this you know, that no fornicator, unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater has any inheritance in the kingdom of Mashiach and Elohim. Let's go into Revelation chapter 22. Revelation chapter 22, verse 15. But outside are dogs and sorcerers and sexually immoral and murderers and idolaters and whoever practices a lie. Now, go back into the book of Galatians. Back into chapter 5. Verses 22, 23. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. And then finally, going back into 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Try not to tear the pages here. chapter 12, verses 8 through 11. For to one is given the word of wisdom through the Spirit to another, the word of knowledge through the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the works of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another different kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But one and the same Spirit works all these things, distributing to each one individually as he wills. So, my point to bring up is just because you say I do does not mean that you are. That is because now you are deceiving yourself. And I realize that none of us are perfect. There is only one perfect, and we are not him. But he did say for us to be perfect. Even though there are many who strive to walk the narrow path, there are those that will make mistakes and slip up. There are those that will trip and fall, but they will pick themselves back up. There is a difference between somebody who is living in sin knowingly and those who make a mistake from time to time. Peter said that he would die for his Messiah, yet he denied him 3 times. Thomas, even after listening and witnessing for all the time of the ministry, refused to believe that he had been resurrected unless he saw with his own eyes. He put his fingers in the spear stab wound in the side, the holes through the wrists and of the ankles. He doubted. But they were redeemed. David, who was an adulterer and a murderer, he was redeemed. But those who do not seek redemption, who constantly live in their sin, who do things contrary to what the Word is, you're not born again. You're not a new creation. Those who do not honor their father or their mother, those who worship idols and other false gods, that could be anything from a high-end sports car, celebrities, the worship of politicians, thinking that somebody of flesh and blood, of sinful flesh and blood, is going to be your savior, to save your land. There is only one who saves. Those who are engaged to be married cohabitating under the same roof, sleeping in the same bed together before marriage, committing fornication, and you think that you're saved constantly living this way. Those who go and commit adultery, it's the same as committing idolatry. And one of the worst acts of betrayal that you can do. So I say this again. You're guilty of any of the things which I have read out of these scriptures, or what I've just said. And you think that you're born again. I would, at this point, if I were you, really question whether or not I was truly born again. Whether or not, when my time comes, I'll be told, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Welcome home, child." Or you'll be told to depart, that I never knew you. See, there are going to be a lot of people that will end up in the kingdom that you would never in a million years suspect would actually make it. And there are going to be many people on that day that are going to be thoroughly shocked that they will not be allowed into the kingdom. And they will be tossed into the lake of fire for eternity. So with that, brothers and sisters, it's time for many of you to do a lot of hard, critical thinking. Shalom.